Oh, yeah, hey, that's you now. Maybe now. when you-
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's something that you're.
Anything else you guys wanna? Any other comments before we move on?
The only other thing is car, you may or may not know the line thing I have.
Yeah.
I wasn't going, I didn't include it in this because I wasn't going to go there. Constantly, and anytime there's a party, he's got the car.
You just get, it'll start it up, it's in the driveway, it'll start it up, and you just press the end.
And it does it, 7 times in a row. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any, I think it still applies to the same ordinance, right?
And the other thing is, so we had somebody in a different sports car in his driveway, and then, because we had a verbal altercation on Sunday, I went over there, guns blazing and a panic. So then he had this person pull out of his driveway, come past our house, they slowed down, they read the engine light in front of my house, and then sped on the ground. It is-
Well,
yeah,
it's getting
Right.
more.
Judgment.
Sure.
and I don't think we're controlled by
Right.
these morons who's now trying to intimidate us.
Yeah.
With
He has sped around in the village streets.
Yeah.
Speed limits are.
I haven't seen that car, but
I
we've seen,
have.
we got to see some,
Yeah, he goes
some
fast.
motorcycles
Yeah,
do that, so, yeah.
I've seen speed at my house.
It is loud, if he starts it up and pulls out and it drives normal, it's not bad, it is loud, but it is.
Right.
Not a car. There are times
Yeah.
where he revs it and he takes it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he likes the noise and wants to be noticed. That's a personality type. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say, to John's point, just give them a call as it still occurs. It'll start issuing, a couple tickets if he doesn't, get the picture when you show him the decibel levels that are acceptable. I don't think there's an exception for vehicles under the noise ordinance, so, you bring up, maybe let him know that revving the engine in the village is not gonna win him any friends, and it still is technically a noise ordinance violation, even if he's down the road. And we'll see if, I think it's unlikely that that's sufficient, but, the next steps have to be the next steps.
And that was our main concern, was where do we go?
Yeah.
Next step.
All right, well, thank you guys. Sorry, I tried to
Sorry,
punch it to the end. I didn't realize you were in the room. All right. Anything else for those guys before they?
No, I just feel bad that they
Yeah.
have to go through all that.
Very much appreciate it.
All right, so that concludes what I've got under the mayor's report. I will do a brief public comment period.
I'm sorry, before we can move on, I know you guys.
Sure.
are- I did text Barbara, quick. I said, I was certain last year they changed the rules in there too. We gotta do a deep dive in that, because it's my understanding, approach the back side, you're authorizing any type of.
Who's that? No, sorry.
I specifically remember conversations of the board meetings that I've been through.
Yeah.
They always reference, well, in the front side, you can do this, and in the back side,
Yes.
if that has to be done in the back side, I specifically.
Oh, so so that is often brought up to do with the depth. You can't stack supposedly
Oh, no, I think it
in the
was
front and
about-
back.
It was about black, it's about.
Okay.
Anyway, all I'm saying
He
is.
was
there
the
are-
mayor
No, I was a mayor when we did this.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
And-
we can review that. I mean, at this point, we're not organized enough.
And it was gonna be an extension of the front.
Yeah, we're not organized enough to have two sets of rules. We don't have one set of rules. So whatever has been discussed is not some, handcuffs we can't deal with.
I'm just letting you guys know there's a man right there, if I can understand it, but, there are two sets of rules that are okay with it. Just take a look at it, because that'll probably change the rules, forward, things like that going forward, man. So just take a look.
But
Can I just say the history of why that cemetery exists?
Understand.
Is it,
no, but
is
we're
it,
on
no,
the-
no, but
They always, I think Mark got the rules actually. Take a look at the rules, and if they have to change. it,
Shannon's
they'll change it.
Shannon's looking right now.
Yeah, it's running.
All right, so
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
the
no, you're
original
fine.
Idea of us doing all that work, and there were only 6 of us that did all the work to expand it. So that's why obviously we have a lot of vested
Yeah.
interest.
I think at this point, you're on the committee, you're welcome to go to the meetings as well if you, and I think that's a question for the committee to work out what they want to do, because whether or not there are two sets of rules now. That doesn't mean there have to be, and both the front and the back are managed by that committee. And I think Donnie is on the same page.
There's two sets of rules, and then the other set was that the lights could be buried in the back. That's what you're getting at.
It was stackable, but I think,
No, that's true. What I'm saying is, they approved last year, which we talked about, which, sorry.
shots fired.
Ah, oof.
Three sets. I'll tell you what, yeah. All part of it, all together, we conference, our group that night, they're staying in the back side, the headstones, where they wanted to be, would be a cross or a fold or a headstone you're choosing, the front is going to be the same. Just take a look at the rules, again, we can always change it back. But I want you guys to understand, there might be two different rules on it, that's all I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, well, Donnie's got what you need, and
Yeah,
you
it
can,
still has under, it still has to fall under the VA, because it's a military.
Sure.
Right.
There's no separation there. Just because it's a back section.
yeah, we guys, we do have to move on. We're gonna be here forever, so you got it, you're on the committee. You guys can do what you want, come back to us with recommendations to change whatever you like. And I think Donnie's on the same page as you, so you shouldn't have to worry. All right, we're gonna move on to public comment, really quick. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Shannon, is that you? Raising your hand or just sitting?
No.
Okay,
I guess.
Jay, you're up.
I guess I'm up. I'm Jay Kramer. I'm the property manager of Canyon Properties LLC. And just have three quick comments I'd like to.
I'm gonna say, we are running a little behind. I don't want to go through the entire statement again, so let's.
So that's all I'm gonna do. I just was curious. I wanted to talk with Mark quickly about to see, because, the infrastructure agreement, the 15 lot subdivision, as to where that was at.
We approved the infrastructure agreement last month. There's a quick update I'll be giving in a little while.
Okay, well, that's great, and number two, I just wanted to, you or Alex or Dave as to, how the Bob Ogden report to the Supreme Court, how's that going? Are we moving forward, to get everything sold?
Yes, we are.
So it's been submitted to the Supreme Court?
I didn't say that. I said it's the paperwork is being finalized.
It's been finalized, so, okay.
Has Bob given us a ETA for his next step? Do we know about when that is?
Any day now.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. It's good to hear.
Well, that's good to hear. Obviously, the project in the best of shape. So we want to get things done. And number three, just did anybody, right next to the property, had a new boat launch that was supposed to be, done, 2 years, for the last 2 years, and it's been on hold. Does anybody have any idea what?
We just got the bids in last Wednesday, Thursday. We've got the bids here and
Are you talking about the boat launch between George's building and the stone
Yes.
hospital? Yeah, he's talking about the
Oh.
boat launch over.
I
That's what I
don't know
thought.
the first thing about it.
Yeah.
Is that a private boat launch, Jay?
What's that?
Who's putting that in?
Well, Lawler was, he.
He's not
hasn't
here and
But,
we can't speak
I'm
for
just
him.
wondering if anybody had any, if any process that was done or.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Okay.
So I would check in with him or Mike Campbell.
Have you heard anything, Janet? Is that, nothing's been going on since then? It's just sitting there. It'd be a great asset for the village. because
It's a
you
private
can do
matter.
it,
Yeah, he's got to, if he's gonna put it in, he's got to put an application in. That's a question
so
for
that
Mike
hasn't
or,
happened.
No. it
we
hasn't.
haven't seen anything.
Okay,
So actually, honestly, you're asking about it. It's the first I've heard of it.
okay,
So-
great.
But yeah,
Thank you.
check in with Mike or Mike.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Jay. Anyone else for public comment? Go ahead.
Eric Irwin, 401 West Washington Street. We'd like to get the, when it's on public record, or just get something from the village over the serious drainage issues that are going on down through the subdivision. Obviously, we've already addressed, already looked at the ones coming off of Mayor Street.
Yeah, that's my fault. I should have updated you guys when I updated them. That was just an oversight on my part. It's not gonna be, I think, the answer you're hoping for. What we're looking to do is try and do a systematic expansion of our stormwater system. We can't just do it piecemeal here and there as issues come up without a plan, ideally to get some grant money as well. Corey, I don't know where you're at. We talked about it last month, but the plan is to move forward with expanding that system to encompass more of the village. In the meantime, we have talked about potentially procuring fill at our rate for private homeowners if Phil can help. With an F, not like a person. But where your issue is landlocked between private homeowners. We had talked with Colin from BCA as well about potentially helping private landowners develop their own plan, put a pump in or something. But there's really not a great way to get water out of the middle of your block where it's lower than all the homes around it without active pumping. And that's likely going to be something that the private homeowners on that block have to either, at the very least, you'd need easements to get from the interior to the nearest storm drain, even if you put it in yourself. But there's not a great short-term solution besides actively pumping that water and waiting for us to expand our stormwater systems.
Your expansion needs a new system of Washington Street. That doesn't exist now.
It means basically taking more streets that do not currently have stormwater drainage and adding to them. And it's important for our sewer treatment plant as well. It's really difficult for us to deal with people pumping from their basements into the sewer water. If that increases much, it'll be a problem for the sewer treatment. So there's a number of reasons why this is good to do. And for those reasons, we think we will likely be able to get some grant money if we consider it as a holistic village-wide project. And the plan is to consider problem areas as the initial steps of that once we actually get to the construction phase. But it is going to be, likely a year or more problem before we even design a system and start applying for grant money and get into the construction phase.
Saying that everyone's gonna deal with leakage to water in their backyard
Yeah, there are
for 2 or 3 years.
There are probably 50 properties that would love for the village to pump their water for them. And if we did that, you would not like the tax bill required to pay for that. And we don't have the resources to pump water for private landowners in the village. Unfortunately, there's just too many people that have.
The problem is that nobody wants to resist new development. But it's a great development. Love it. Great big house, they look great, beautiful, but environmental impact study or whatever went on there with bonding and all that, someone didn't get held accountable. Allowed a swamp to be filled, which is perfectly fine. I know it's a swamp, but I'm born and raised here, 47 years lived on that block, it's full of water.
Yeah.
We built all those houses, brought the lots up, made them look very nice. Put storm sewers in their streets, which not their needs for the village.
Yeah.
The only thing that's storm sewer to streets drain is the street. All the houses pitched to the backyards and then all dumped right into pre-existing taxpayers that have lived in this village for 40, 50, 60 years. And now they're having to pay the price for it was $3.8 million development. I think I just read it.
We're gonna have water here in three directions. That coming from across the street from there to street.
Yeah.
It's going into the ditch next to it. It's going to the back, the parking lot, courthouse. Where do you think that belongs to? Raise the base on that.
The parking lot project does include drainage work to make sure that we're not adding to the problem. I don't, what do you mean? Well, so this project hasn't started construction. Do you,
Yeah,
know,
it's
speak
for
to-
the parking lot itself, the expansion of the parking lot, so not, it's only for that, not for residents.
but the point is that the parking lot construction shouldn't contribute to the problem. It shouldn't increase the.
It won't contribute, but it won't help. We're talking about,
Well-
they're gonna put storm drain where there's an entire residential building lot between that town property and the 5 affected properties on Washington Way. and-
So let me ask you this. Well, I guess I'm curious what would a solution look like for you? Because I don't, honestly, I don't know what, we can't just go construct a storm system in that lot tomorrow or next month. So is there something specifically that you're asking us to do?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
what specifically,
I-
what you do, I guess it's two parts, I think, as a taxpayer to build.
Sure.
One, someone needs to fix this problem that didn't exist prior to summer.
Okay.
All right, yards were not flooded there 6 months out of the year prior to that brand new summer. Two, I just heard this gentleman up here talking about another subdivision.
Sure.
I don't know where that's
Yeah,
located.
so I can't
but
speak
you
to
probably ought
the
take
past
into account
ones.
The residents that live around that subdivision and not let them dump acres and acres of water on the pre-existing taxpayers' properties. That's exactly what happened on those two streets.
So in the subdivision that Jay was asking about, there's a pretty extensive groundwater plan. There's outfalls into the lake, there's storm sewers. I don't know the history of that development. I don't know if it wasn't done correctly or if it was, and the problem is different. I know right now, there hasn't been much construction around me, and the groundwater basically since 2017 has been worse than before. I don't know if it's related to high water and it percolates out slower when there's a different pressure. I'm not a groundwater engineer, but I will say that even in areas where there isn't construction, it has been worse in the past few years. I would like to hope that that is just a seasonal variation and it may a bit kind of become less of a problem if we have a few drier years. I don't know. In the meantime, for us, with our infrastructure planning, these issues definitely change our priorities, but to design these systems well is not a speedy process, and then to go and get the funding is not a speedy process. And we don't have, it's not as though we have a big pile of funds where we could just deploy it immediately. We'd be talking, in order to build something like this without grant funding, it would require tax increase, it would require, or debt, which is future tax increase. So it's not a problem we can solve super quickly.
I understand that, but at the same sense, your village has much deeper pockets than the 4 or 5 residents that are being greatly affected by this on a daily basis right now. You're asking them, you're asking us to pony up and bring in dirt, fill up our yard, which, by the way, all that's doing is kicking the can down the road. Now, my water is gonna go to the next guy's house, and then the next guy's house. It's never gonna change it. It's just gonna keep moving the water to a different house. I understand that it takes forever to get funding and to start infrastructure projects of this magnitude. But something needs to get started. And something needs to be addressed with the future plans for the village for expansion projects. like that.
Yeah, my understanding is that is the intent of a subdivision review is to account for groundwater issues, at least in my experience, which is this one we're doing now, is really all I have seen. And we did extensive groundwater. I mean, Corey did a bunch of calculations where the actual pipe flow rate was not enough. So Lawler is replacing it with a larger pipe to account for that. Obviously, I don't know if that was, were you involved with those?
I wasn't
Yeah.
involved.
So, it's hard for us to say off the cuff if there were material problems with the review back then, or if there was an oversight or the water levels were lower, that I don't know. But in the meantime, there's really not a short-term fix that the village can do. Out where we are, I'm looking at putting a couple solar panels and just a DC pump that moves water, over a high spot from where my parents built, because the water doesn't go through to the swamp anymore. It gets stuck behind their fill in their own side yard. And it's not extremely expensive to do, but it's not free. But there are mitigating things you can do, but unfortunately, I don't think, unless anyone else on the board or Corey has an idea, I don't think there's a great mechanism for us to help you in the super short term, right? Like we can move forward on expansion of the sewer and prioritize that more than we would have had you and had Joanne Slater and Johnny Mayer not had issues and brought them to our attention. But, I don't.
There's a storm sewer in Washington Street. That's one.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
why they put that there?
Yeah, I don't know if that was put by the village or if it was put by.
How many months that side street being done for that? Courtesy, we should at least.
Sure, yeah, I don't know where that system is. Do we have a stormwater map? Yeah, and that may be the first step is to map the current storage systems and see where the nearest connection point is. Because what I did to look at it is I got on Google Maps and looked for the manholes. And it looks to me like the closest one to you guys is on the south side of Jefferson. There's a drain, but the drain is higher than the backyards. So that the problem is, you know, you've got to get the water uphill. And that's not something that, you know, you can do passively. You need a pump, you need power. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody has any other ideas in the near term, but.
The village does,
This is the application, this is all the paper they fill out. to build that. Everywhere it says it here, will affect groundwater, it's real simple for the developers, just a mark, that's exactly what they did. Not looking for, no. I mean, I'm not blaming the village
Sure.
board at the time, but, I mean, I don't see anybody up there that looks like they're a groundwater specialist. So they wouldn't have any idea, no one's lived in
Right.
that neighborhood for 50 years, to know that it's wet. You go in and say, I can look at it and say, there's gonna be groundwater, because it was a swamp, built.
Sure.
so we do have, there is a little bit of precedent. We talked a little bit about this. Corey was involved. We changed our priority, I don't know how many years ago, when Monroe Street was having huge problems. At the time, we were going to do a water and sewer project. We shifted to stormwater and we addressed the problem. It took, you know, obviously it took a little while. I think that's what you're saying, Mayor, is it's not an overnight thing, but it was a addressing of an issue, you know, policy for the village to then, you know, to then address it. And I think that bringing this up a couple months ago and having us do some research, I think now the village is saying, you know what, we've got to change our plan, upgrade our plan, even do a plan for stormwater down there. So holistically, I think we want to kind of make sure we fix this. But I think that that's the only way we know how to do it, I think, is what.
And not for nothing, like, I'm not frustrated that you brought this to our attention. It actually is helpful because when we do these grant
It is
applications, having
It is.
letters, you know, that aren't all written on the same day, the day before the application is due, carbon copied from all the homeowners. These are actual complaints that you guys have written that have led to us seeking out this funding. It will help get the funding. And it's important to, you know, acknowledge it. It's not, as much as it feels like we're blowing you off, this is the only path I know to fix the problem, besides saying, you know, I know somebody with cheap solar panels, I can, you know, like, but like, that doesn't really help you.
We got to start somewhere. I think to your point, we should by this conversation, move on to what's next. We need to look at some kind of scope for task force, right? Show progress. Come back again in 3 months. It's maybe identify where the source exists, where they need to go next. Let's start developing a plan systematically provide scope to coverage.
I would agree with that.
See, you're at this point for the next 3.5 hours. We can make that kind of deal. Let's do that. We'll do a task force.
Yeah.
Take a look at it. Come back to 2 months. See where we are. I can't move it along.
Not gonna drag it out anymore, but so the parking lot is going on right in the courthouse there,
Yes.
which is almost like in the problem area where all the flooding is happening. Like, none of it has anything to do with me, but it doesn't matter what you put under a parking lot or on the edge of the parking lot, right? There's no way to drain it all. The problem areas to that parking lot and then pump it from their house somewhere else.
I don't know.
Did we address the drainage issue in the project? Like, is it going
Like,
somewhere?
It's
Out
over there in the
away from
man.
residents?
It's most of it's draining that way anyway from what they're talking about. But it'd be better just to suck it up from there and take it out.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think the parking lot is not the low point, or in the edge of the parking lot is not near the, yeah, so, and so it may actually help, because what's happening now is if that parking lot's runoff is draining into the lots, the new construction won't be doing that, right? The goal is,
Right, we're intercepting, you know.
so that percentage of the water that's going backwards will not. It will be rated pitch, I don't know the technical.
Even though, so with that development, some of it was approved, the planning board or had the we just did not see this happen. And this is where we are now.
Yeah.
So get this right.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as far as the task force goes, the number one thing to do is map the current system.
Right.
And I don't know if that's something that you can do, Lynn, or that Corey can do. I mean, we can walk the streets and look where the drain holes are, but I don't know where they connect and how you necessarily figure that out. We have records.
Has maps, your
Okay.
water, your sewer, we got, maps, everything else.
Okay.
But that's something they can put on the website too.
Well, I
so
think
that-
that's the first to do, is to try and get that mapped out so we can see where the nearest connection points are. And we can see what there is always the Ontario Shores model, is that we say, hey, look, here's the plan. If these homeowners want to accelerate it, they could take on the bond to finance that part of the project in advance if they want it. But, that's a whole other question. But, for now, I guess the answer is we'll get back to you shortly as to what the plan is. Corey is working on a stormwater plan, and we'll try and map out the system, see what the nearest point of connection is for you, and whether or not.
I'm very supportive of that project. Not looking back. We have no idea what's out of my house. Cable. I'm not actually that far from the kitchen window.
Yeah.
And they have, I made them back around my pool, because it was about that much rock up to the top. I mean, they
Yeah.
pulled the cable out, broke the glass, picnic table on the dock. I mean, that's minor. And they took our driveway up twice. And they don't offer to cover the cracks, they just.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, and I love the developer. I mean, I think he's a great guy, but great guy is also a businessman. So he's not gonna
No, I
take
understand.
credit for that.
I got you. All righty. Well, thank you, guys. Sorry, we don't have a better answer for you in the short term. All right, before we move on from public comment, anyone else? All right. We're gonna move to old business. We have the NYSERDA Clean Energy Community Program resolution for benchmarking. We kind of talked about shoehorning this in the last minute, last meeting. We've had this to review now for plenty of time. Any questions about this from the board? Or are we good to vote on this?
But I thought we already did.
We did.
Not gonna lie.
This is,
Thought
so
we
there's
already did it.
there's a bunch of these.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's
And
why
so
I'm like, I
each
thought we
one,
already did
it's,
this.
so Dave and Shannon and I had a call with Matt, I don't know his last name, from the Adirondack.
Do we have to do them every so many days or something?
It's-
He works with the Adirondack.
It's like something packed, but
Yeah.
it's on behalf of basically,
But they're implementing the NYSERDA.
Yeah.
program.
so they're help with the Clean Energy Communities Program. And it's effectively sort of a gamified system where you get points for doing certain things.
I
And
remember this.
certain point
conversation.
totals get you grants, and some grants, some actions get you money directly, and some get you points, and some totals of points get you money. So Shannon and Dave are basically gonna kind of try and figure out the best path through this little game system they've built. One of which is, this is an easy one, because what we're doing here is turning over data that's already public in a format that
Right.
NYSERDA would like, and they give us credit for that. So this is an easy resolution. Doesn't cost us really much anything at all. A few minutes for Shannon to tie the account into the NYSERDA system and authorize them to read our data.
Are
Do
you
you need a
offering,
motion to
are
sign
you
it?
offering this?
Yeah, I think this
Yeah,
is,
do a roll.
Peggy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll make a motion for this resolution number. Do you know the number? Okay, resolution number blah, 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 to establish a energy benchmarking requirement for our municipal buildings.
I'll second.
Any other questions before we vote? Oh, sure.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, then we have a few event applications. Top one should be the Spoker Ride. I believe this is the same route.
I would
We already
I
talked
would
about this
imagine.
at the last one. We just
Yeah,
took
we
over
did, they
because
didn't
we
have the
missed-
map
Yeah.
showing. And
John, you've seen the Spoker Ride application? Thank
Okay.
you.
you good with it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, yours. Yeah, so we've got Lynn's signature in this application. You've signed it since. All right, any other questions about this before we?
There's a
anyone-
quicker way to do this, but I don't know if you want me to talk about this right now or wait.
You want to do them as a group?
Yes,
Okay,
it's so much faster.
okay,
If you number them 1 through 4, we just look at them all and say we're passing them all
okay.
instead of talking about each
Sure.
one individually.
I'm
It's
happy to,
faster to do it that way.
all right,
If
let's,
we've already seen it.
we've seen
just
this
next
one.
time,
Let's
like,
go to the
number
next one.
them,
That's
1
fine.
through whatever.
We can do them all together.
Right?
All right, so let's move on to the concerts at the battlefield. Or wait, sorry,
18,
this is
12.
1812.
1812.
Yep.
We got what we were missing, right?
Yep.
We
made
did,
the
we
map.
got
All
map.
right,
Perfect.
we got the
Right.
maps. I don't think there's any other questions. We've got John's signature here. Lynn, you're good with the 1812, right?
John,
It's on the
did you
last
sign
page.
concert? Did you see this one?
See,
So he didn't sign the, oh, so we have different copies here,
Yeah,
because I've got
Hey, Ron, what do
John's
you have
signature
over
and
there?
not Lynn's, and he's
Oh,
got
we
Lynn's.
don't even have
Oh,
the
Lynn's
same
on the
document.
back. Look at that, front and back. John,
Oh,
Lynn,
wait, there's.
That's
John.
why.
I found it. You're on the back. My bad.
because they didn't sign the same copy.
Okay.
All
never
right,
mind.
cool. So that's all we have in the old business events, but let's do what Kelly suggested.
just
Move
did-
on to the next event.
Yeah.
In new business, which is the concerts on the battlefield. I don't think there was any changes to this from last year's. So any questions here? Are we good for these two as well?
Fine with that
Good,
one.
and we'll move on to the live at the bandstand application, which is
That's a little
exciting. There
more.
is one addition to the application doc, which is that she did get approved for her nonprofit status for Live at the Bandstand Inc.
And I see 1812 was doing the alcohol, so that covered that.
So yeah, the brew pub is going to,
Or brew pub.
the
what?
brew,
Yes, sorry, brew pub. They're
the
doing
brew
that.
pub is doing, they're bringing their beer
Yes.
trailer.
Yep.
For that event.
Okay.
And so they had a request to shut down the Market Square Park, kind of where the bollards will be in the new development. I don't know if you guys don't have an issue with that, right? Okay. Great. All right. Any questions about that before we?
I
Good.
make a motion to accept all applications.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Quick work. So before we jump into the trustee reports, I just want to say quickly, what I'd like to do in the future, unless there's objections, is rather than have the trustee reports be just, we're reading emails we've already seen, right? So the goal in the future for both trustee reports, department reports, for you guys, and John as well, is to try and get, obviously, if something comes up after, you can adjust, but try and get these reports to Peggy by like the Thursday before, so she has Friday to get them into the system. So they're on our computer system over the weekend. Everyone can review. If there's any questions about clarity or issues, we can have those discussions. You know, if Kelly says, "Oh, where's the map for Spoker Ride?" She can send that to whoever's running. I don't know the name of the people running that event off the top of my head. She can send that to them. They can add it so it's there Monday, and we're good to go. And rather than have basically John read a report that he's written and everyone else going through them, we just say if there's no questions about the reports, they're approved as they are, and we move on. I think that'll save us a lot of time.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you want to go through this just because
The
you
only
just
thing I
posted it.
wanted to comment on was the fire department. I listed all their calls, but I do want to make mention, they participated in a firefighters helping firefighters program, which donated equipment, outdated turnout gear and medical supplies for firefighters in Ukraine.
Okay.
I just thought that was a real, they provided donations, it was sent, they're using them, and I just wanted to give them a pat on, I thought that was a great thing that
That
they
was
did.
cool.
Excellent.
They also got $4,200 donated to them from the firefighter safety day at Old McDonald's Farm.
Great.
Awesome.
Good
That's
turnout.
very cool.
Great turnout.
I think Kelly was the only one to send one in, so if you guys want to chime in with what you've got.
Thank you. Paul, since you're here, do you have anything to speak on behalf of the Park and Rec Committee? Or you want to come
The reason I stopped is there's been a lot of questions of what's going on. And I figured what the heck, we might as well stop and hear, run for your questions, answer. Big money concerns that's been going around like I tried to tell you way back in January, now that the COVID's over, things are freeing up. Our balance is meeting quickly. We have a lot of projects that are coming forward. The baseball fields are up and running. A lot of those are done. Unless you, I guess it's easier if you have a question.
I just know online, I saw some people asking questions about the summer rec program.
Okay.
That parents were looking for, you know, is it available, which I think they got the answer, but why isn't it available? And I think they got the answer. I just don't know if you want to put it out there so everybody
Yeah.
knows what the answer is.
Yep, the summer rec, it's up and running. Why sponsors our summer rec? We give a donation to the Y to help kids of Town Hounsfield and Village of Sackett Harbor that they have something to go to. But technically, on paper and everything, the summer rec is run by the Y.
Okay.
We hope to open our meetings at the end of the summer for any parents that would like to give suggestions on programs. Then we take it to the Y and we offer this. Majority of the time, they're agreeable, but the problem is, New York State regulations state that you offer a program, you gotta have somebody that's certified in that program. That's why a lot of the times, it's basically, easy programs to say.
So you're saying like there was the old days of summer rec where kids would go to summer rec at 9 in the morning and they would stay there till 3 in the afternoon. Those aren't happening anymore. I think that's what parents were asking.
Yeah, they're not happening anymore because
The
the
regulations
village
changed.
boards and the town board both say.
I just needed that answer, so the next time somebody asks me, I know exactly what to say. Thank you.
Add on to what Paul was talking about, about our department budget, think a little bit. Remember, we had a bunch of money left over carried over to the ball field in the last couple of years. That money is now being consumed as we wrap up the ball field project. Ball field project should be ready to go by mid-July. Cool. We'll start playing baseball with some field back.
Great.
From the LEC side, not a lot to report. I know we're still in talks about the new parcel on Avon Street. I want to move it at this time. We'll what we want to do with that one. They are still talking to the state. There's other options out there, but not a lot of things that gain a lot of traction.
Yeah, the two big options are the state wants it.
Yeah.
I personally think that they haven't made use of the half of the current park.
Right.
So I'm kind of against just locking the rest up.
Yeah,
Harry is supposed to, by the end of the week, have a drawing of a potential development for the north parcel, so that we can, and then we're meeting with the state next week.
Right.
So we can look at the two proposals and then review it with the board as well. So more to come on that.
So you, just on the LBC, and you have the advisory from the heritage area.
Yes, we do have it. And
Relating
that was
to
sent to the LDC members. Yep, that was sent out. And yeah, and we'll involve the heritage area as well. Once we actually have a concrete offer from both, then it's decision time. Right now, it's information gathering. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I will add into that, that I'm also looking at the land conservation easement potential. That, so it would protect the land. It wouldn't have to necessarily be turned over to the state, or the state could take over the land. This is a little bit bigger, but there are some areas of the state where, in OBI, by the way, which is where we are, doesn't have this, but our neighbor, the Tug Hill region, has a provision where when there's land conservation owned by the state continues to pay the municipality taxes.
Really?
Looking into, that's a long-term thing. And I know this is more immediate, so it may not bear out here. It probably won't bear out here, but it's worth the research. All right, so.
Are you meeting with the state or with the battlefield?
sorry, those battlefield.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know that's not this. Battlefield trucks.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. I was gonna say the state, that's.
All right. Did you do, go yeah, right? You're up.
Yep. Just a quick update on the infrastructure agreement. Since our approval, there was some clarification. Our attorney wanted to make sure that that Creekside, that we could convey the roads that involve Creekside Apartments, and Corey signed off on that. So just coming to, so roadways, there's the last sentence essentially says, and including but not limited to Creekside Lane from Military Road to the intersection of with Brady Road. And the board also approved an additional $5,000 that the developer would pay in addition to the 13,000, and it would be capped at 18,000. And so I just wanted to draw your attention to those. Those are in the infrastructure agreement. All right, so they're just minor. Yeah, we were voting on that.
So it's basically signed off, then it's, it's gonna happen.
Well, so this is part one, of course. Part two is, of course, what the planning board has to approve the subdivision.
Yeah, which is gonna happen tomorrow. hopefully.
That was just, and part of it was making sure our attorney and our engineer completely were okay with all of the, subtleties here in the infrastructure, because it is a lengthy agreement. And really at about 5 o'clock tonight, I went back and made sure our attorney was okay with it, and it was based on Corey's thumbs up on Creekside easement, or Creekside conveyance, I should say.
Well, great, all I know is I still got, after, 4 months, I still got a gravel road that's sitting in front of my property, property I manage. I'm curious about that.
It's just, that'll be Mike, yep, that'll be the developer at this point, right? So, yeah. The only other thing I was going to mention was, where did I put it? And Dave can go over this in a little more detail. But we're, when mom calls, you gotta leave your phone out, right? Yeah, mom. We are looking very closely at the battlefield because, the Heritage Area Advisory Committee, we think that this land is important to preserve. So the role of the Heritage Area is about historical preservation. So, and in the village, that seems to, take precedent with a lot of residents. They love the fact that we have land that's preserved, that has a great view shed. In fact, if you look at what we don't have as much view shed to the lake that as maybe people think we should. We can't. It's just impossible at this point. But we do have the battlefield. We do have what's in the middle of Madison Barracks. We do have, of course, other areas in the village, on the fringes of the village. So we've got to protect those things. And so the group is really, kind of coming up with a long range plan for, preserving the battlefield, working closely with the state. In addition, we were looking at, I mentioned this about a year ago, and we kind of put it off a little bit, but Dave has done some recent research looking at including Lakeside Cemetery in the Heritage Area. So, because it's cut out of the Heritage Area. We believe that because of its historical significance, it needs to be a part of our heritage area. So at first we thought, well, this is going to take legislation. This could be a big, long project, but Dave thinks maybe it might be a little bit easier. So we're looking into that. That's pretty much it.
Thanks, Mark. All right, next up is the treasurer's report.
All right, your May report, it's lengthy because it's the last month of the village fiscal year. You see going down the first page is receipts. You can see the developer fees that Lawler's the latest run of expenses until he got about
or 500 until he gets to his 18,000, but that's what he sent to the village of May to the bills that were submitted to them. The town, they provided the fire contract money in two spikes. 73,350 is what they had in their budget, and then they extracted 4,650 from their ERA funds, to make equal to what the village gave to the fire department, the 78,000. That's an annual revenue sharing check that the state gives the village based on, statistics. It's nothing that we have to apply for. And the Ready Fund zeroed out their fund at the end of the year into the general fund. That's what the general fund advanced for the 95% of the bills that came in. So over $500,000 came in there from the Ready Fund, 567,000, and that came from down below the two jobs that DASNY, that's the state agency, gave Marcus Square Park one, the first reimbursement 408,000, and the third reimbursement from Brown Shores Road. Going back up to the water fund, what came in from rents, and that's basically in May, people that bought and sold houses for final bills. Coin meter came in, that's over 2,000. The village generates about 8,000 a year in coin meters. That's at the water plant at 75, and then back here. And then the two monthly money, rent money from T-Mobile and Verizon. Sewer rent's the same like with the water for people that bought and sold the house. So that's the receipts, over 1,433,000 came in from rents. Page 2 is year 3 biweekly payrolls for May, and then the 2 abstracts of the various funds. So, and again, the Ready Capital, that zeroed out to the general fund what came in from the jobs and that. You can see the bank balance is at the end of May, 2,750,000 in the money market, 555,000 was in the checking account. You can see this is an extra page that I run at the end of May. The village with this year's budget estimated 2,702,500 in its funds. We actually ended up with 3,305,000. So the village starting this year 603,000 to the good, and that's why we have good cash flow.
He's starting off with on a good foot, Shannon.
So yeah, the new treasury is not penniless. And so you can see on the next page, that's where you get the 2,702,500 is from the adopted budget, and that's what the unexpended balance means. Okay, and the next page is what went through the rec budget in May. You can see the big ticket items that Paul talked about that were finally paid. Bellos and the credit cards mainly paid for baseball equipment, and a few dollars is spent on the bocce courts. Then at the ball field, 4 benches were paid for, 2 league fees to Eric Holden. Then Saggins Harbor, they were paid half the groomer expense of 4,100, and that's what all the fill from Northern Nurseries and Cicero cost, just under 10,000. And then we had to get 4 new bases. So you can see at the end of May in the joint rec budget's 40,000, $41,017, and to that, this year 12,500 will be added from the village and 12,500 from the town. So you can see the rec budget that could be spent this year is a total of about 65,000 to 70,000. Okay,
To be fair, a lot of that 40,000 is already spoken for, because we're finalizing some process.
more, I mean, after these expenses here.
Right,
Okay,
right.
so that's 40 out of the 65 to 70. So the rec committee still got 25 to 30,000 to see what they want to do. for the rest. So that's your report at the end of May, which is the end of the village fiscal.
Motion from us to-
So I
Make
need
a-
a-
I'll
need
make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The other thing is the trial balance you've signed. I need a motion that you brought it to the treasurer's records for May 31st, and which means you signed the trial balance and everything to your satisfaction in balance. So I made.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Okay, another sheet I just ran for you is 150,000 to date's been spent in the intake and the sewer capital fund. So once EFC needs a read of all the monies that's spent today and the first draws made, all these bills hopefully will be accepted towards the 4,400,000 intake budget. So we've already, the village has already got that towards that final number, okay?
2%.
And there's no bunch of transfers.
Budget.
And part two of the treasurer, the new treasury report is bills that Shana put together.
And I
I'll
know
make a
you all-
motion to pay the bills.
Well, you all signed them, and Peggy needs it to approve payment of voucher 1 through 49
I'll make a motion.
For the month.
for $625,747.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Do you feel lighter?
Oh, wait, the village usually passes the salary sheet
Oh,
for
yeah, it's-
the new year to approve the people starting to get paid June 1. Yeah,
yeah, we did that
you've got
already.
them.
It's got Mikey's and Jared's.
I was
on
gonna
it.
say,
got
how
the-
we did
Okay,
it
yeah, we
before,
can
did
just
it
do
big,
a-
Did not have Mikey.
Yeah, you didn't
And they have to
update.
get paid this week.
Okay, cool. We'll do a motion to reapprove it now that the union contract is settled and signed. And this is the updated sheet. You got it in your packet?
Yep.
I'll make
So
that
you got
motion.
Mike and-
Yep, it's all in
Okay,
there.
very good, great.
Thank you.
All right. Do you need a motion
Need a
or?
motion?
Yeah.
Or good?
All right, I make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
That is it, Jim.
all right.
Like Donald.
That was Jim's last report. everybody.
We'll see.
No, you've got a good track. Everybody's got their time.
Thank you, Jim.
Awesome. Thank you. All righty, let's get right into the department head reports. Lynn, you're up first.
You got my report there, a few things that we've accomplished or working towards last month there. Would like to draw your attention to number 8, 9. Number 8. Been a hell of a growing season. Hard to keep up with the grass growing. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars clearing Augsbury at the village expense. And I've asked for a brush hog for about $1,600, half of which I asked the LDC to pay for and half the village to pay for. The LDC turned me down
Did they officially though yet?
officially. Officially,
Oh, I think we start billing them for the labor
I
then.
think so.
All right.
It's been a long time.
How many years back do you want to
Quite
go?
a long time.
Because about 2 years will pay for the, I don't know why. I sent an email. I was like, they've been providing the labor for free. Why are we?
Labor, fuel,
Doesn't make any sense, but
equipment breakdowns.
all right.
It's it's
I
a
don't,
sad
when
thing.
was that vote? We just did it via email?
Via email 2 weeks ago.
Okay. All right.
So
Well, I tried.
I choose not.
Well, they
to-
said, well, we want to do, we're happy to pay our share of the labor. I said, you haven't been. And the labor's more than the machine. So just chill and pay the thing. And I didn't realize that it had actually, everyone has chimed in, but yeah.
I
okay.
choose not to mow that any longer.
Sure.
Yes, I get the proper equipment to do it.
Yeah.
As I said, we have spent tens of thousands of dollars clearing that.
I mean, when we
property over
talked, you said that you likely save the 1,600 in labor pretty quick
there
anyway.
easily.
So I think, I mean, if everyone,
Knowing that the north side is up for sale, I think would look nice if the grass is laid down.
Yeah.
You're looking at extra parking area for Can-Am coming up or
Yeah.
other special events
That's
coming
true,
up.
it's
That
gonna
is
have
no
to
longer
be
going to be available.
Friday, next Friday, they're doing the annual lunch.
there, yeah.
Bring it up then.
I will, for sure, because that is, I wasn't aware that the LDC was voting on things not in the meeting, so I assumed those email exchanges were advocacy and we discussed it and vote on it.
And what we're saying more of a conversation that kind of stopped the conversation from being going further.
Sure, yeah, I
Because
mean,
there's so many no's.
I'm happy arguing with a room full of people, so.
Push the vote.
Yeah, so do you guys want to vote on just, let's get this machine so that they can get the job
I
done
think it'll
and we can
probably
worry
be
about
used
the
more than
LDC?
just Augsburg,
It's more than
so,
Oxford.
yeah,
Oxford is
so I
probably
say it's-
90% of it.
yeah,
Okay, I'm,
yeah.
I don't think you need a motion for that so much as you just got to go through the normal procurement process.
Yes, I've actually already done that.
Okay, great.
Got
So,
three bids.
you
And
just
the-
want a
the
verbal
cheapest
okay, or
bid
you
is
guys,
So that's the price of the one.
It's
they
gonna
buy.
be approximately 1,600.
Okay, yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to do a motion or just give them the verbal
I
okay?
think because it's over 500, we have to do a motion. So I'll make a motion to accept his request to purchase a brush hog.
You get 3 bids, right?
He did already.
You already did.
Yes.
Where does that get, where does that go?
1,600.
Where do they go?
They
What do you
log
put in
it and they put it in the bills when the bills come
Thank
out.
you.
I see that.
When we go to pay the bills, the printout.
Well, you give or take, it's gonna be 1580 to 16, whatever. I think it's 1550 or something like that.
Kelly made the motion. I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 9, legal clarification needed, specifically referencing tree removal from right of ways within the village. I have had a few residents approach me on removing damaged trees. Just want to know legally what's right or wrong. What do we own? What do we not own?
Yeah, I think
That
What do we want to pay
depends.
for?
I think this is a question, honestly, for Mr. Burrows. I know in some cases, the village owns, like on Main Street, the village owns
All those
to the
trees.
sidewalk.
Yes,
On a lot of streets, the village does not, but it has a right of way.
yeah, right away, which does not mean we own
Yeah,
the property.
so, but the question is if we are the ones that planted the tree,
That's this.
With the
one tree in
homeowner's permission. So
particular,
it's-
we did.
it's a question of how many are we talking right now that are needing removal?
3,
Did we plant all of them?
1.
I mean, I think it makes sense if we were the ones that planted it with the owner's permission, that we'd be the ones to remove it. In the case that they planted it or it predates that, I don't know if we're obligated to pay it. Yeah, I've seen it. It doesn't address this is more of a, if it was damaged by a person, by just age.
Age,
Right.
yeah.
So this isn't a question of someone damaging it, I don't believe. These are just trees that have rotted or aged poorly and are now dangerous. Not so dangerous that we need to pull them this minute, but that it's on your radar. I think it is just a legal question of, are we obligated to? And do we even know with certainty which streets that the median is ours and which it is an easement?
You had a map, right? Because you looked it up when you looked at the tree across the
That
street.
map is,
Yeah, it's not a
variable, but
survey.
yeah, it's not specific, I guess.
Let's do this. Let me follow up with Jim and see. In the case, I think if you guys are okay with it, I think in the case of the
think the
person
one
who
that
was
we
we
planted,
planted, we should
yeah.
just remove.
I mean, on a piecemeal basis, a property owner's survey will tell that, I know. if you
Right,
can't
that's good
Right,
tell-
but we want to know the street generally.
No, I know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's a good
street
point,
by
Dave.
street,
It is establishable
yeah,
for
the
sure.
Property owner will know this. where it is
Right.
from.
But when we have that,
I mean, that-
yeah,
Well, if a survey.
go
was
on the
done
tax
any
map
time,
and see, right?
But sorry. The tax map doesn't line up with the satellite view. It's not
Gotcha.
100% clear.
Okay.
It even says it's not accurate to survey purpose
Gotcha.
level.
Okay.
So let me do this. Let me follow up with Jim Burrows and see what he thinks on who's responsible for that on those. But in the case, I think, are we all okay with him taking the one that we planted?
Yeah.
Okay, so at least you can get that one.
It's a large tree that I'm probably not gonna tackle. so it's
Okay.
gonna be- It's gonna be hired out.
Okay.
Did you ever relate to that? Niagara Mohawk, or National Grid,
They're not into it.
not into
No.
it. What does that mean
If
exactly?
if the tree is not gonna danger the primaries going by, then they won't touch it.
So if you have, what about tree that you don't have to take down completely, but you've got branches that are bad?
They won't do it.
Right,
They'll
they
just
won't
take
do
the
it,
whole
so
thing?
then it becomes the same
Yeah.
issue we're
I
talking
would,
about,
I
right?
would suggest or say yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's,
Okay.
all right.
All right.
We got it, yeah, because there's a bunch on the right of ways, if you will, where part of
Well,
it's
that's,
bad.
that's the part of the legal clarification I would like, if we deem something. a
What I'll
safety
do,
issue,
I'm
what's-
gonna,
how can
I'll
we
write
get-
something up and I'll run it by you before I send it to Jim, so I'm not wasting his time.
Okay.
Yeah, the DEC guy that was here,
Mm.
he mentioned, I said, well, what would make part of a tree, one part of a tree bad? He goes, well, you can see, he goes, look, he right away can see bark damage on the bottom that, we might not detect. He goes, that's affecting just half the tree, but it's a dangerous half. So I go, okay, I appreciate his, his expertise on that. So now we got to figure out how to deal with that. Okay,
That's all I have. Thank you.
thanks.
Thanks, Lynn. All right, next up, I went and lost my agenda, is
Visitors.
Kathy.
So the visitor center is now open for the season. We've been open for 2 weeks. This coming weekend, we will switch to our summer schedule. So starting Friday, we'll be open every day of the week, 11 to 4.
Awesome.
So far in May, we were open 10 days. We had about 231 visitors. We try to talk to the people as they come in, find out where they're coming from. We can't, 100% we can't get, but sometimes people don't really want to talk to us. But so far from the people who would, most were from New York State, or they were local and stationed at Fort Drum, or somewhere else, some of the tri-county areas. We also had 30 visitors from other U.S. states, 4 Canadians, and 2 Germans.
For the 4 Canadians this Saturday.
No, they were over 2 different weekends. One sat in
They
Montreal, one
came
sat
by
in-
the garden stands.
Okay. The gift shop, we do have a small gift shop with a little bit of pottery from last year's inventory. We sold a piece of that. And we also have books from the Historical Society of the Seaway Trail. We sold a few of those for a total of about $80 this month. We also received $38 in cash donations. We did have a problem a week or so ago where our main door, which is actually the side door, the lock broke. We sort of had barricaded over the weekend, and then Lynn and his guys were able to fix it on Monday for us. But I think that means now that our back door is exitable, but you can't enter anymore. And then for the marketing efforts, the website and social media, our event calendar is now up to date through the summer. If anybody does happen to go on and notices that there's an event missing, please email and let us know so that we can get it up there for everyone. Our website traffic has been fantastic. Our numbers doubled in May, and that was over April, and April had already seen a 50% jump over the previous month. We had more than 3,000 visitors on the site in May, and on average, they're visiting about 2 to 3 pages each, which is still sort of similar to the trend we've seen before. Our Facebook reach and post interactions both more than doubled last month as well. Much of that I think was due to the Memorial Day Remembrance Service posts. People were looking for that info. Instagram numbers were up as well. They also were looking at the Memorial Day thing, but they also really liked the comparison with winter versus summer photos. I think Dave's gonna talk a little bit about banners from the marketing committee. We also, the marketing committee, submitted our photos and sort of a makeshift video to start the TI Council's digital marketing campaign for this summer. That should start running, I think, in the next week or so. So hopefully, as we all are on Facebook and Instagram, we'll start seeing them.
Great.
That's about it.
Regarding the visitor center, you were into skunk over there, and if so, is something to be done about it?
Yeah, we did Saturday have a skunk. So did
I'll
not-
set a trap.
Okay, did not report to you.
Yeah, it's living under the building.
Is it
I've seen it going.
Okay.
My dogs were on the spray, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, Mushu's 0-2 for skunk
The building
battles.
stunk over the weekend, but got better. Yeah, but today it Actually, mine is using it smells.
Yeah, I did smell, I smelled it right next to that bush.
It's a visitor center, not a dispensary, Kathy, come on.
Right.
I scared it.
Hey, just, can I just point out
Yeah.
your last point is pretty interesting, and I really think it's important. It's new old, actually, right? Traditional artisans. I think that that's a great thing. And I hope that you can build on that. Yeah, that is great. Please look at the last, number 5. Please look at, I mean, just for the, well, there, scroll, well, essentially demonstrations on things like soap making and a blacksmith and what else you got there?
Oh, no, it's fine. That's
This is good.
There you go.
very cool. Yeah, that'll be fun.
That's,
Did you, get your computer yet? How's it working?
It's good.
Good, fast, better?
Well, computer's fast, the internet is incredibly slow. And unfortunately, the, whatever bump they gave us,
Oh, you know
about a
what?
month or 2 ago.
Let me, yeah, it's not gonna
we
work.
lost that. The internet is incredibly slow.
I'll have a more comprehensive solution for this at the next meeting. I was gonna try and shoehorn it in, but I didn't want to do it in the last minute. I we actually got everything ahead of time. I didn't want to make Kelly mad.
Right. I don't like last minute additions.
So, but yeah, I think it looks like the money from the smart tech is stuff that we can use. We can just start buying equipment like that
That'd be great.
for improving the internet here and relaying it down. We should have something pretty,
It's for me to be able to do website, for us to be able to do any website updates
Right.
from the visitor center, but we now have to work there every day.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
yeah, understood.
Good.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. And Corey, you're up.
Yes, first want to give an introduction, Brandon Stoyercino with BCA. Brandon's going to be the project manager for the Ready projects, Marcus River Park, Shape and everything else.
Great.
Here tonight.
my condolences. Just kidding.
So I guess first, Marcus Square Park. I'll first start off, we received the Army Corps permit last week.
Very good.
So that was a year
Nice.
waiting, so it's nice to get, read through all of it, they didn't really have any caveats or special requirements.
Oh, that's good.
Yep,
Even better.
that's good. So we did open bids last week on Thursday. We had 5 bidders submit. Bids ranged from 2.5 million to 4.4. So quite a spread. Yes. The apparent low bidder was Lawman. Brandon took a look at the bids. There's a few math errors here and there. I believe it sent in kind of the bid tab.
Does one involve a 0 at the end?
I wish so, but
Okay.
unfortunately not. So it just as far as what we have for budget, so back when Ready first started, we had a $1.8 million budget. We had updated that earlier this year to 2.1. So right off, we're about 400,000 over from that budget. A few things to keep in mind. So the Market Square Ready project consisted of 5 or 6 different sites. So this is just Market Square Park and Chapin. We still have the 2 parking lots, Hamilton, Pickering Beach, and then the sewer outfall, which we hope to bid later this year to see the full gamut of what that may show. So a couple things. So we reached out to Lawman. Typically, we always call the low bidders, make sure if they're good with their bid. Between his bid and the next one was about 400,000. But hopefully we'll get a phone call back from them tomorrow. A few things. So one possibility, we could throw all bids out, rescope the project and bid it out again. That's a possibility. I should add to, with some of the work scope that haven't bid out yet, the parking lots, the village and town, we're going to attack quite a bit of that, the sub base, probably the stormwater, all those. The budgets we went in with were for contractors, so there should be some savings there. We're working right now to update all those other projects and then potential savings, so we can see the magnitude. I don't think there's gonna be anywhere close to 400,000 in savings, but we could, perhaps at least cut some of that away, but want to take a look at that.
Are you saying because the high budget versus the built at a low budget, that's why we may consider de-scoping it, put it back up a bit?
It's,
Because
so the
it's
low
over
bid
our
is
budget.
over our original spec and the money we have for the other thing, of course, is we can't just nix one of the other sites. The project, we have to do something at each of the sites. So if we down scope, we have to still maintain the number of project sites that we have. So this would limit our ability to, if we do this fully, when we down scope the other projects, that have to be pretty significant. I am gonna try and call, I forget her name, but Corey gave me her info, to see if we can move some of the Brown Shore. We have about 200 grand surplus in the Brown Shore Ready project. We got an initial no over a year ago, I think.
Yeah.
And so now that we've gotten these bids back and the bids are higher, and this is not uncommon right now, everyone's in the same spot. So I'm hopeful that they'll maybe reconsider moving some of that money. And you also mentioned there's been precedent for them to increase if the bids go over to some amount.
I haven't seen them do anything in that. FEMA,
Oh, okay.
which has some funds in Marcusburg Park, they will pay for cost overruns.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you look at it, the major things they're paying for are sidewalk, which kind of came in on budget, so it wasn't a huge cost overrun. If they were paying for sheet pile wall, that would have been great, because two of the big items that were the overruns was sheet pile wall, and then the floating dock system were, quite a bit over from what we had. But yeah, as far as rescoping, we can have a parking lot. I think, Harbor Master was showing 30 car spaces. Ready's like, as long as you do a parking lot, we don't care. If it's 10 spaces, we're fine, but you're doing a parking lot.
You gotta get rid of that 1.4, wherever the maximum is, right?
Well, we could go, we could do this as it
Only
is.
covering Market
We
Square
could
Park.
do this as is. Jim had mentioned, we have plenty of room to handle bond payments if we wanted to. So we could kind of play a little bit risky, because we know the worst case is we go and we take out a bond for the difference once all the projects are said and done. But I think we should consider moving forward with Lawman, just because don't expect the prices to go down if we rescope and delay another year. We might be worse off than we are now with a smaller project. And we have, in the time it takes to do all these, there's a lot of other things we can explore for other ways to tag on other grants. We could throw in some ARPA money. We might get more infrastructure money from the bipartisan infrastructure bill hasn't planned out yet. So I think it's not imprudent to move forward. But
Yeah, I agree.
And
with your logic.
really, because I think largely it makes sense because Jim's left us in a position where we don't have a lot of other debt outstanding. So it's not like we'd be piling on a lot if we do have to, in a pinch, float a little bit of that cash.
Dave's got
The
a
other
point.
thing, is maybe the board, has this kind of in front of your mind, but this is, ready money is 95% money, right? This is meaning, the village match is 5%. That's a really good formula.
Right,
typically
it
for
sure is.
grants.
Yeah.
The village match is at least 25,
Right.
up to 50%.
Right.
So even if the village had to kick in some.
Another
it's
5 or
still a good
10%.
operation.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
So so that's what I thought. I didn't know that we had enough information to really put that to a vote yet. If we are on time pressure,
But we are not. Their bids are good for 60 days.
Okay.
But at the next board meeting, probably should.
Yeah, so that's, I didn't think we were gonna vote on that, so otherwise I would have tried to write up some of this ahead of time. But that kind of catches everybody up to that, and I think we can plan to vote on, we'll try and get together, ask questions with Corey or each other if we need to come up with enough info that we can make a decision next board meeting.
In the bids, do they state a timetable that they might want to use? And
No, so we had substantial completion it's November 1st of next year.
yeah,
Typically, if we make an award, then they'll have a construction schedule that they might want to follow. I know during bid time, some of the questions was, hey, my marine contractor's not available this year. but they're available next year, but I can do some of the other site work, you know,
Yeah.
is that okay? It's like, all there is a substantial completion date of November 1st, 2023. You hear to that, you know, you can use it how you want. Just for, we did have some alternates. We had an add alternate, because the base plan was the 14 boat slips. We had, you know, the add alternate to add 6 more for the 20. I forget what that price was.
It was about 90.
It was a 90. And then we had 3 delete alternates. The removal of bollards
Yeah.
on East Main.
And they didn't save a lot.
No.
It was like
didn't.
20, 30,000 here and there. So we have a very little amount we can yank back. I think we probably won't do the add. We can always add the extra slips later. So we can hold off on that. And if we do find some more funding, or if we decide we want it anyway, we can add that later.
Right. So. Yeah, so we'll keep on working through that and stay in touch, go through.
Great.
Also, the water sewer upgrades on the streets, we've talked about last few times. I dropped off preliminary injury reports, and actually I can send an electronic copy as well. And so this is replacements, Washington Place, I'm gonna mess it up. West Washington, East Main, and then, yep, North Broad. Thanks, Lynn. Anyways, so we've updated those budgets as well. It's definitely gone up. You know, between the water and sewer replacement, total project cost, which is construction, legal, engineering, everything, it's approximately $3 million. But, you know, I'd like to go after some funding, so I want to go in with the numbers. We have plenty of contingency funds in there. Since you ran some numbers, you know, if we're able to get some grants through WIA on the water side, it would be in the 3% bonding, it'd be about a $50 a year change for a single family household. And then on the sewer side, it'd be about $22 just with that funding scenario.
Really?
Yeah, yearly cost. Yeah. So yeah, I've got that draft. If you know, I apologize, didn't get to you sooner, but if you want to take a look at that. One thing we'd like to do, so EFC has this, what they call intended use plan, IUP, where you submit projects with an engineering report and it gets listed. To get funding from EFC, you have to be listed first. Essentially, they look at the reports, they score it based on the issues and problems at hand, and then later this year, they have all the projects across the state with score. And, you know, if you're above certain lines, you can get subsidized funding, potential hardship, although the village won't qualify for hardship because of the median household income. But it's one of the first steps in, as Alex mentioned, the bipartisan infrastructure law. To get any of that money, you have to be on this intended use plan. So that is due this Friday. So if everyone's okay with the report, we're preparing it. So it's only 2 or 3 sheets to get it on the IUP, and we can click send on that and get it listed as a project.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should definitely do that.
Yep.
And Corey mentioned earlier today, we were on the phone and he said that, you know, the infrastructure plan does not yet have clear rules or funding mechanisms. So it's kind of airplane being built on the fall.
Right.
But at least this we know is required and it's due Friday. So it's not going to be an expensive decision. It's, you know,
No. Yeah, really.
a couple hours work.
Yep.
So.
And then just forecasting, you had, you know, with one of the other grants, one that I think is a good one that we got for the water intake, some other projects. It's WIA, Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, to submit an application for that. Now, WIA hasn't been opened up this year. We're anticipating that it will, but one of the requirements is that we get seeker done and a bond resolution. Because it is replacement of existing infrastructure, the seeker could just be a resolution at the next board meeting via type 2. So you don't have to go through the whole seeker process of all the parts. But we don't do bond resolution, you got to complete the seeker first.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
that's that. Brown Shores, real quick. The generator startup should be this Thursday. So Lynn got a hold of National Grid. Gas is there. It's all hooked up, ready to go. So hopefully have a successful startup of the generator. And then the water intake. I was hoping our borings would be done by now. ATL is a little bit later, so they plan on probably the first part of July to do those borings out on the water to see what our rock is that we get through all of that system. So That's all I have.
Great. Any questions for Corey before we move on to Officer Gleason? Cool. John? How's your karaoke? You gonna have a karaoke battle with this guy and solve the?
You all received my report, correct?
Mhm.
The only thing, I don't know if you're all aware, we had water rescue that the fire department was called out for. And a couple of residents from Ontario Shores, just want to let you know, Mr. Tom Dykes and a construction worker that was there with Brian Overton's crew went out in kayaks before any EMS people arrived and assisted the two subjects that were in the water.
Huh.
And then John Babcock from Ontario Street went out with his power boat and they were able to get the subjects to shore over at Mr. Babcock's, where they were assessed by the Sackets Harbor Fire Department and ambulance, and everybody was okay. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
That's good.
And then other than that, I mean, we assisted at the Memorial Day ceremonies of the Legion and also public relations there. We presented with Stephanie from Watertown Savings Bank at the Harbor Heights Apartments to the elderly population there about scams and frauds that were occurring prevalently. We get several calls a week through the 911 center about people taking advantage of the elderly. And as you all know, we purchased a sound level meter kit, so we can start trying to tackle that.
Great.
Do you have any questions?
We're all set. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right, now on to the fire department. Mr. Batista.
You should have my report. There are 2 additions to that. We also did at North Harbor Dairy, Old McDonald's Farm. We were there at the fire department, their opening day. They gave us a very generous donation. And then also added to the list of things that we've done here. For the month, K through 12 at our school came to every grade came to the fire department for safety day through the fire department, showed them what we did, talked about the ambulances. Did all of those during the month. We had 26 calls, 9 fire calls, no motor vehicle accidents, which was good. And the ambulance responded to 17 calls. It's pretty quiet. Good. Any questions?
I just don't want to know, do we use the boat?
I was just gonna say they've had to.
Well, the water rescue that we did yesterday, the 2 people were actually walking, trying to walk the horse side. On the road there. Got panicked, we're all floating. The boat was available, but we had already rescued them before we could choose them. We did go out 2 times this past month. We had a helicopter rescue that was really, the helicopter made it in the water near Pillar Point. They thought it was a big deal, but the helicopter was on pontoons.
People didn't know it and they
With
called.
the pontoons. But
That's interesting because I don't know what they thought happened. Like, why is it still above the water?
And then we're also helping the other end at Henderson Harbor. We're helping assisting anything that they have.
We ran a moment stress off of
Stony.
on the other side.
Oh.
It was during that storm.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It was-
Race
yeah.
Bay area down there.
So word is out that they have the boat and they're getting called for mutual aid, which is good.
Good.
Right.
That's great.
Immediately after that call, I talked to Chief Stoller, Henderson Fire Department, called me, thanked us for being able to be out so fast.
Yeah.
Much faster than they are, and so I'm gonna put you guys on automatic mutual aid, so you're coming all the time for the water on the side.
That's good.
You just put it in the Coast Guard, man, you get her step on their toes.
They're not
No,
even here.
because actually, I read right on the can when it came up, that it was on a Monday or Tuesday. Coast Guard's not.
Coast Guard is a small station. They're only here on the weekends and not here during the week.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and they don't necessarily respond to that because they're homeland security.
Good.
So they're getting used.
That's really great. I think it's just a matter of time before somebody who might not have made it will, you know, it's not a bad thing that we haven't had that be necessary yet, but. All right, all set with the fire department. We're gonna take a quick jump before we go to Connie. I don't know if she did get on Zoom, but Mark wanted to, Erica, can you throw up the firework? They're in the main folder there. If you go, just click on the meeting date to your right.
Sorry, Vince was talking.
If you click, oh, sorry, if you click on the regular meeting folder, like down to the, yeah, and just pull up the firework docs. I think they're in that folder. Yep. Just click on today's meeting. Double click. Yeah, and the fireworks docs are in there. We got the documents we need to approve where are they? I thought they're in there. Oh, they're in the vents. I'm sorry. Can-Am fireworks insurance, certificate of liability, and the fireworks permit.
Yeah,
Mark said that we just needed
we
to,
need to approve that we're the permitting
yeah,
municipality.
yeah. So we just have to approve, given that we've got those things, we can approve the fireworks for Can-Am. I think if we did, we didn't have these documents yet.
Yeah, this
so-
is the first time it's been, I put it, as soon as I got it, we put it in the
Yeah.
file.
Okay.
But we
so
just have to,
we just need a quick resolution
Quick
to approve the
resolution,
fireworks for Can-Am.
yep,
Great. You
Yep.
want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the fireworks permit.
Second the motion.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I think Connie Brown is not here. We'll jump.
No, I'm actually here.
Oh, you are. You're on Zoom now. Great.
I got
Okay.
in.
Let me, sorry, I didn't see. All right, Connie, you're up.
Okay, and I'm just going to say that I'll have a 6-month report presented next month in July.
Okay.
And back to fireworks, 4th of July fireworks. You got the permit for that, okay, and all the paperwork we got from Peggy today.
Okay.
You just voted on it.
No, that's different.
Oh, different.
Can-Am
Sorry.
and 4th of
Can-Am
July.
is 4th of July.
Gotcha.
We're-
I apologize.
Fireworks all
They're
summer.
everywhere. I see that. My dogs
All
are, I
right.
hate life.
Anything else, Connie?
No, thanks.
All
Don't.
right, great. Thank you so much. Any questions for Connie?
Nope. Thank
All
you,
right.
Connie.
David, you're up.
Okay, so on banners, the second round of banners came in, and thanks again to Lynn, managed to get them up on time for Memorial Day. The plan right now is to have another round, one last round. We've been hearing some interest about people that wanted additional banners, so we have additional space and stuff, so.
I do have a quick question. Kevin Oliver asked me, if somebody does a new banner, they'll only be in for 1 year because we're gonna
Well, we're
change.
gonna put them up, so right now the plan is, the final deadline will be March of 2023. So
Okay.
they'll go up, they'll be up 2023 and 2024.
Okay, so somebody could add one now for 2 more seasons.
Right.
Okay, so that's worth
so
doing.
all of the
All right.
banners will be up.
I'll let him know because he had asked me and I was like, don't.
It's updated on the website. It's
Perfect.
not
Oh,
bad.
great,
It's out there.
great. You're ahead of me then. Cool.
So
I'll
the
show it.
idea is all the banners will be up through 2024, and then we'll do some other, you know, this
Great.
is the third kind of sub theme or whatever.
Yeah.
So come up with something. That makes sense. That's.
Cool. Yeah, they look great.
So yeah, thanks again to Lynn. Pickering Beach Museum, hopefully will open June 23rd. They're getting screening volunteers and that sort of thing. Mayor mentioned I started clean energy. So one big thing that's coming up, the village, and it's been, at this point, it's been in the state hand for a long time. We've been in a long process to update our local waterfront revitalization plan and our heritage area management plan that's now combined into one.
Okay.
There were 2 different plans that were done in the 80s, like early to mid 80s. So we're combining into one. It's run through all kinds of reviews at the state level. It's actually gonna start the last formal review, but the village has to go through a formal process to adopt it, similar to a law. So I'll have an outline of that process, but you know,
Cool.
it requires seeker and all sorts of things.
Yep.
But it's a massive document.
Yeah.
And it's about.
So maybe not the Friday before the meeting, maybe
Yeah,
the
no, no,
Monday
no.
before
Well, I
the.
mean,
It's literally,
I
you can't, though.
I don't like messing with stuff.
No, I'll send out the plan.
Cool.
But I'm talking, and I'll get this to you, with
Like an
the
abstract,
week or so.
gotcha.
And
Yeah.
then the outline for the process will come.
I see. Okay, great.
So,
Very cool.
so that just, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
And it's important because the village has belonged to these two programs since the eighties. That's what's given us the opportunity to be part of these two grant programs. It's
Right.
done a lot.
Yeah.
For the village, so.
Very cool.
Okay. Speaking of grants, the consolidated funding application is out. I think the mayor sent everyone a summary. We discussed it at the Heritage area. I've discussed it with other sort of potential players or whatever. And we're developing some ideas for projects. The timeline is due until the end of July.
Yep.
I want to talk with Corey too about it, but we'll try to come up with something.
Okay,
So,
great.
The other thing, last thing, I want to thank Lynn for the work that he and I guess Pete Daly and his group did out on the signs.
Yeah, they look great.
They
That was,
Yeah, that looked great. And also thank Lynn for the work he's been doing around. He's done a lot of work, minor stuff, a lot of work to get the visitor center look good and all that, and help Kathy and Daryl. So,
fix the door that we couldn't fix, I guess.
Yeah.
We all like flocked to try and fix this
Well,
stupid thing.
replace the snow shovel,
Yeah,
room
our-
block.
our
Yes.
awful barricade in the rail lock, yeah.
Great. All right. Any questions for Dave? Great. Thanks. Who's up next? Janet. You got your report.
The only thing is report says the next meeting is July, actually tomorrow.
Okay. Great. Any questions for Janet? All right, and we've got community organizations. I don't think we have anyone here besides you guys. Are you gonna speak from behalf of this historical society?
Yeah, the concerts are starting
Yeah.
June 26th, so the last
Awesome.
Sunday. and,
Who's first?
Sachi.
Oh, right. Yeah, that'll be great.
So everything's
I'll be there.
in place for that.
Very fun. All right, I don't think we have anyone who didn't need any public comment here, so do we want to move to the fun part there, Ron?
It's his favorite part of the night.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I don't think you can make your own motion. I think that's procedurally. I gotta roll fast because I'm